This idea of inner work. You know, Scott, I loved your book and I resonated deeply with it. And I was actually in Tulum for a wedding when I was listening to, this kind of Mark Andreessen talk about how successful people shouldn't reflect on themselves and their lives. That self-reflection, I think he also talked about, I think what was really stood out to me, and I'm not proponent of like, drug use or anything like that, but I thought it was a really interesting point. He was like, founders and entrepreneurs shouldn't take ayahuasca because it makes them not care about making lots of money and growing their company and deciding that life is living on a beach and enjoying themselves. He's like, founders should focus on building their business. Like that is the most capitalistic thing somebody can
Totally,
say.
man.
So yeah, man, I just want to give that to you. I just want to serve this idea and this thought to you that I just had when you were sharing that and just see, just reflect for me for a moment, like what comes to mind.
The first thing that comes to mind is there's many ways to skin a cat. There's absolutely entrepreneurs, CEOs out there that don't give a damn about looking inward and being reflective. And there's also people that's been the biggest part of their life. I mean, Steve Jobs was a very, very spiritual man who's arguably built one of the most iconic companies of all time. And and so I think blanket statements like that are silly. And when it comes to what Mark's pointing towards, I think it's just comes back to like what are you seeking for your life? If and why do you even want to build a massive company? And what I found behind a lot of those type of desires and aspirations, at the end of the day, it's usually about somebody wanting to feel a certain way, and that's what I found in my own pursuit, which was, I wanted all the things in terms of the sick company and the beautiful girlfriend and lots of money and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, it was all to feel a certain way and really have a consistency of that feeling. And I think that there's actually just a much more direct way to do that. And that has a basis in looking inward and working directly on your inner world. And so that's how I would challenge it. And I would even say, you know, this might not be the case for everyone, but I do think there is some type of arc with introspection and inner work where in the beginning you actually probably are a worse entrepreneur or CEO. Like when you first start doing this stuff, like there's this like, whoa, my whole world is destabilized and things aren't the way that I thought they were, and I have all this shit I gotta work through, and all of a sudden, like, hawking metrics might not be the most interesting thing in your life. But there is a phase beyond that where I actually think that expanded awareness and self understanding makes you a much more effective person in the world.
Hmm. And reflecting back to a leadership training I was doing once, and I was talking about some of this stuff because a lot of what I focus on is self-leadership first. Self-leadership, lead yourself, and you can lead others. And he raised his hand, and it wasn't like a negative comment. It was more of like a light bulb kind of. And he was just like, "This seems kind of soft." It was like, yeah, the moment. And a lot of the clients I work with, they come to me because they are questioning life, right? Questioning themselves, questioning their leadership. They're stuck in doubt. And I think that's, as you said, that kind of that arc. There's a certain aspect of self-development that requires you to believe that something is not right, that something is off
That's
about
right.
yourself. And a lot of people get stuck there before kind of moving past it, developing, growing. And what have you noticed? And I wonder if this is a relevant question or not, but it came to mind. What is different about the leader that gets stuck in the I'm on this journey of self-development, but they get stuck on the like in the negative frame of the journey instead of the positive frame of like instead of like I'm not enough, so I'm not enough. It's I'm not enough, but life is about not being enough and like kind of growing into that self-actualized version of themselves that is able to balance the inner work and the professional work.
It's a great question, and I don't know that I have the answer. But what I've noticed is it becomes really hard when you view the inner work and these things that come up as a major detour that's derailing you. And what I've seen is that, and I've seen this with my own life. When you treat it like that, it's like there's an aversion to doing the inner work. It's frustrating. It's annoying, and a lot of times the underlying issues don't resolve. And I think the people that really like embrace the knife and they see, okay, like this is maybe actually the primary game that I'm playing is to move through these blocks and face these things. Having that type of willingness, it's really the willingness to face things. That to me is what separates people that are able to kind of move through these things, not always gracefully, but more on an easier groove than people that are just constantly resisting and fighting being in it. And what I've noticed is that life gives you what you can handle on that front. And so to me, it eventually just became pretty obvious in my own experience when by observing myself when I really fought that I was in some type of like stuck situation and had to deal with something versus when I really just embraced it, that the more intelligent thing to do if you're called to an inner work path, and I don't know that everybody is, but if you're called to the path and you've opened that door, then I think the only way through is to embrace these things. And that actually creates a smoother passage.
When you say
How does that how
embrace,
does that how does that land for you?
yeah, well, it, it brings up, I'm going to nerd out for a moment. I don't watch a lot of TV and I fall into my imagination through fantasy novels and I'll switch off between like, okay, I want to learn this skill right now. Like we're talking about app production, like I launched three apps. I really dive in. But then I dive into like a fantasy book to kind of let my brain relax. And I'm reading the last book of Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archive. And
Nice.
one of the main characters in it is like has gotten over depression basically. But he's like he's doing the inner work and he's helping other people do the inner work, but he's constantly battling like he's accepted that I have these negative thoughts, but I'm not going to let these negative thoughts control me. And it's a really the author does a really great job of highlighting that inner work is not something that you just kind of flick a switch and you're fine. Like it's something that you actually have committed to and accepted to like go on a different path and have a different lens, different frame on the world around you, a choice to show up differently in your day to day. And like that's what comes up for me. But when you say like embrace inner work and it's right for some people, not right for other people, like what does that even mean for somebody?
Yeah, I think so. Let's take fear for an example. So I know with Live Fearlessly and a lot of the things that you preach, you talk about how to handle fear. And so if you have some type of fear that comes up or a persistent anxiety, you have a choice. You can continue to avoid it, you can fight that it's there, or you can say, you know what? I recognize that I have some fear and I actually need to sit with this. I actually need to face it. And that to me is that willingness that I'm talking about, where there's bypassing and then there's embracing it. And I think a lot of different people have like a lot of different techniques to do that. And once you have your own set of tools, a lot of times people don't have tools. They don't know how to work with this stuff. And so they see a therapist or they see a coach or they see, some type of person that can help them. But eventually, when you have your own tools, like you constantly have that choice. And a tool can simply be just acknowledging and witnessing the feeling. And so for me, a lot of what I am trying to advocate for is that people take those opportunities. People use the things that life gives them to explore what's behind that fear. And in my experience, the more you embrace those opportunities, the more you better understand yourself, the more you better understand reality itself, and honestly, like the easier life flows. So, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean by that.
So if I'm an executive listening to this and I'm like, okay, I think I need to work on something. Like let's say for example, and this is a client situation. I'm a high powered financial executive. I have been really successful professionally. I've consistently gotten the feedback that I'm judgmental, critical, can humiliate others, and tough. And I've been passed over for my next position multiple times because people just don't like working with me. And so if I'm going to embrace the inner work, that means that it's like, okay, I need to pause and explore that reaction
That's right.
and the emotions that happened before, during, and after that reaction. And maybe even explore the goal that I have to even move upwards in my career. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
I think that's a great example, right? So if I was that executive, the next time I felt that inner like urge, right, when somebody does something that triggers me, I would try to see if I could first pause before taking action and set aside some time to look at that. Set aside some time to explore what's behind that. What am I really angry about? And then what's behind that? And then what's behind the next thing? And my experience has been is that usually whatever's bothering you isn't a them thing. It's not a whatever's outside you happening. It's something inside of you. And so that's really when I say the word self discovery. It's really about discovering what aspects of yourself those are. And there's a lot of people that frankly don't want to go there. And there's a lot of executives that will say, well, I'm really successful and I've had all the success doing it this way. And so why am I going to start doing this other thing that takes time and is kind of uncomfortable and is a little bit of a pain in the ass? Well, sometimes life shifts and you don't have a choice anymore. And that's what I meant by like if you get the call to the inner work, it seems like there's some kind of uh, I don't know, algorithm of reality or something where a lot of people can avoid this for a long time and everything goes well. But at a certain point, things might stop going well. And as you cited, it's at that point when things aren't working, where you're doing the same thing over and over again, and all of a sudden not getting the same results, that a lot of people get called on this path. And once you get on the path, the same stuff that you did before isn't the way out. For me, it's been a process of going inward.
Hmm. When you say something like sometimes you just don't have a choice, it's kind of like life just life happens. So it could be health, it could be a layoff, it could be a relationship, it could be um, a friend close, something happens to them. I imagine is that kind of like what you're referring to, where life happens, where it
Yeah,
kind of
I mean,
forces that?
I never, I've been on this deep inner journey for about 8 years, and I've been a meditator for about 14 years, and I never had any inclination to do any of this stuff. And it always seemed like some external circumstance pushed me this direction. I started meditating because I started losing my hair at age 24. And the only way to chill my stress out and not have alopecia was to do stuff to calm myself. And that's how I found meditation. And with this consciousness stuff, like I was super unhappy though my life looked perfect. And that pushed me to do plant medicine. And that kind of opened my eyes to a whole other world. And so I think I don't think if everything is going well in someone's life, they're inclined to go on this path because it goes against societal conditioning.
Mhm.
It's Mark Andreessen, right? He's a perfect example. Everybody's killing it. If you want to kill it, do this. That's how you're going to be happy. That's how you're going to make the money. That's how you're going to get the sick house, like all the things. And if you're winning in that game, then why would you choose another game? And this to me is where I personally do believe there is a divine orchestration to our lives that is pushing us to where we want to, where our soul, our higher self, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, where we wanted to go in this lifetime.
Hmm. So then that's it for a second. The if you're winning in this game, why would you change the game? And it's often because the leaders that I'll work with don't feel like they're winning. You know,
That's right.
it's it's like I have everything that says that I'm winning, but everything inside me says that I'm missing something.
And
And
so
so,
you have a
yeah.
choice at that point. You can keep trying to play the same game, do more, 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 thinking that that's going to fill the hole, or you can ask yourself, is there a direct way to work on the hole?
Mhm.
And my experience has been that the inner work is that answer in whatever form or fashion suits you.
Yeah, and other there's a variety of ways to do the work. When someone may be listening to this and be like, okay, all I've learned so far is that I need to sit down and I need to listen to my thoughts and work and like understand the feelings that I'm having, to dive it deeper, to do the 5 or 7 whys. Like, they're like, well, if it was that simple, like it can't be that secretive. Like, how would you respond to those leaders?
Well, I don't think it's a secret. I mean, this stuff has been around for thousands of years. It's just not in our culture. It's not how we're indoctrinated. No one says, "Hey, you want to have the life of your dreams, you want to feel how you want to feel, start going into all your shit." Nobody says that. That's not the programming that we have in this country. And so, my experience has been that this stuff largely stays out of your field or your life until you're called to it. And it could show up through a tragedy, it could show up through a book recommendation, it could show up through a coach starting to work with a coach, whatever it is. But it's showing up for a reason. And you can continue to resist and see how that goes, or you can embrace this and say, you know what, I'm going to treat this as an experiment. And that's what I always recommend to people, versus like blanket, do this, do that. Try something for 3 months and see what happens.
So our listeners need to go read your book, Conscious Accomplishment, and they'll learn your backstory and how you got here. And what I'm interested in is what they won't learn from the book, which is what are you building towards? Now that you've done some of the work and you've had part of the journey and you've brought these ideas to the world, like what's next for Scott?
Thanks for asking that. The phase that I'm at right now is really chasing my aliveness and chasing my inspiration. And it's taking me all kinds of places that I would have never anticipated. And so I have a business called Conscious Talent. It's a recruiting firm that finds founders, entrepreneurs, leaders who are into this inner work, are into self-awareness and growth, and are looking to find people that are not only good at their job but also value this as well. And my experience has been when you have an executive team, managers, just people at your company that see the world the same as you and can hold both the inner and the outer, it just changes how you can run your company. And so I have this recruiting business, and towards the end of last year, I just felt this really, really strong pull to go see what all the fuss about this AI stuff is. And I was using look, I was using ChatGPT and Claude and doing some cool things here and there, but I wasn't doing agent stuff really. I wasn't doing coding stuff. And so I kind of have just been going really hard on learning those things. And there's a couple things I'm building. One of the things is a platform for people to manage their chronic health stuff. And so I have been on this health journey for about 5 years, spent well over $100,000, probably have talked to 40, 50 doctors. I mean, it's just crazy what I've been through. And I found myself so incredibly frustrated by outsourcing my health that it finally got to the point where, like, I need to really take this into my own hands. And so, what this product does, it allows you to upload all of your blood work, input all your symptoms, and then it compares all of that data against the latest research and everything that's happening on Reddit, and basically suggests to you here's a gap analysis of your current treatment protocol against what the latest research paper says or what's working for people on Reddit. Um, hey, here's a treatment you've been doing for 3 to 6 months. And it doesn't really seem like it's working. You might want to consider this. And it really just has allowed me to kind of take my health into my own hands. And so that's and I'll be honest, I get on the phone with my doctor and I show them this and I'm teaching them things.
Yeah.
And so I really do think that in this world of AI, we are in a future where we can just be much more empowered with the right tools. And I want to help a lot of people that are going through what I'm going through. So I've been working on that. I also recently built this product that is a AI marketing assistant essentially, where I when I decided I wanted to go like all in on AI, I was like, you know what, I want to turn my recruiting business into just like an automated lead gen machine. And so I built this tool that ingests all your Google Search Console data, all your Google Analytics, everything that's happening on your website, your email list, your lead forms, and then uses all of that data to just tell you here are like the three things you need to do every day. And so whether that's write a blog post on this, update this page on your site, change this copy, whatever it is, and everything is, very easy, like one click actions. So um, yeah, that's the main other thing, and I have a bunch of other like little apps and stuff. But I'm really just in this fun exploration of playing and building things that I want to see in the world.
There's something really, I think, unique that the ability to create, like, okay, and I was thinking about this a lot because I've found inspiration. My fiance's just unbelievably inspired, like for the first time like a decade. And then my social network also taking away the boundaries to be able to take an idea and put it into action is such a special and powerful thing. And it hits on all like the key aspects of like what I would find from like an artistic endeavor, right? Like creating music, singing, playing a sport, but it does it at your fingertips. Like it's so beautiful about the ability to create through AI. Uh, I can't wait to check out the marketing assistant and the health product and everything else that you build. Do you have any final thoughts or words of advice for our individuals that
Yeah,
maybe want to dive into inner work?
yeah, I'd say if this resonated and you really want to go deeper in terms of what's worked for me and how I see the world, definitely check out my book, Conscious Accomplishment. That's probably the best resource. It's available on audio and Audible and all that good stuff. Um, and yeah, I'm a very reachable person. You can find me on LinkedIn or X. Would love to hear from you, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes, everyone. And thank you, Scott. This has been I feel like much more centered after chatting with you. So I appreciate your energy and your vibes.
Cool. Glad to hear it, man. Keep doing great work.